no sense. Dripping in finesse. You know, dripping in finesse with my baby. Oh, dripping in finesse. You know, girl, you know we got it going on.
.9 WEFM. WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Alrighty, so good morning again, everyone. If you are just listening to us for the first time for this morning, you missed 20 things. All right. Anyhow, we are back with you for another segment of our Activated Mornings program. And at this time, we are going to be conducting an interview with Mr. Matthias Williams. All right. And this is in relation to a book which was just released titled More Than Just Dad. All right. So, Mr. Williams, welcome to the studios of WEFM.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and good morning. Good morning to the listeners of WEFM. Good morning to SVG and wherever you might be listening to this broadcast.
All right. So, Mr. Williams, tell us a little bit about yourself before you get into telling us about the book.
Matthias Williams is a name. Grenada mostly is my home, but I'm Vincentian by birth. So I claim in both.
As you should.
My roots are in St. Vincent. My both parents are from St. Vincent. My mom from Spring Village side. My dad from Chomoka. So they're Leeward people. So I'm a musician and an educator. I've been a musician and an educator all my adult life. So those have been my career. And I'm doing a lot more with the music now these days. I play the saxophone, so I kind of describe myself as a smooth jazz saxophonist.
Okay.
And I guess this is my first publication out. First publication. I mean, I've been writing all my life, especially because I've been involved in education. But in terms of publication, this is my first publication out on my father, Milton Williams.
All right.
Yeah.
So who is Milton Williams?
He was many things. He was many things to many people. So he was more than my father. So hence more than just that. Mm-hmm. He was born in Chomoka. He's from Chomoka. I'm not exactly sure where he was born. But I mean, he's from Chomoka, area called Madam Go Get. So yeah, Milton Williams was from Chomoka. He got converted to Christianity under the evangelical denominations, and there are quite a few evangelical churches in St. Vincent. I attended the national conference on Sunday and kind of did a launch through them. Okay. So he attended, he got converted to Christianity through the evangelicals, attended First Up Bible School, Windward Islands Bible Institute, somewhere up Lodge Village side. There's a home for boys up there now.
Yes, Liberty Lodge
right.
Boys Training Center.
So that apparently back in the day, in the 60s, he attended that. And then he got married, Kingston Evangelical, went back to Chomoka Evangelical. He was about the second pastor there. And then he went on to Karaku with the evangelicals again, Karaku Evangelical for a few years. Then he moved to Grenada with a denomination called the Bereans. They apparently were impressed with his organization there and invited him to Grenada. So he lived the bulk of his life. He lived the bulk of his life in Grenada, but was very much Vincentian and Grenadian too. And then he went on to a denomination called the Independent Baptist. So he was a religious minister in a Christian fraternity, and I just was really inspired to document, his character, his energy, his journey, because I think it's a story worth reading. I was inspired to do it. I was inspired doing it. I'm inspired every time I read it, that kind of thing. So I know I'm guaranteeing anyone who reads it that they would also be inspired by this simple guy, this ordinary guy who lived an extraordinary life in a very ordinary way. I'm not sure that makes sense to you.
Yeah,
But
it does. It does.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
does.
yeah.
I'm
So-
curious. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm curious. As I was going to ask, what is that moment where you realize that I have to write this book? I have to pay this tribute to my father. What is that? What was that moment?
That was about 2016, 2017. I decided, okay, I'm not going to the US for vacation this year. I'm going to hang out in the Grenadines. I'm going up Caracou. I used to live in Caracou. I was out of touch with Caracou. I didn't know. Well, I didn't want to leave Caracou when I reached there, first of all. But when I went there, I started researching, asking the elders who knew him, and the stories I started to get was like, this man was a serious man. And the consistency of the story is really what took me back to. And then the same thing I did when I went to St. Vincent and down Chomoka. I still have a brother by my father. Before he got married, he had 2 sons. So I still have a brother by father in Chomoka, Conley Haywood. So I ended up in Chomoka. I'm helping some of the Grenadian Islands, chilling and thing. And the same thing, I was asking persons, Milton Williams, who don't know, they used to call him Theophil apparently, who know Theophil, look, he built a house there kind of thing, because he was into construction too. And then he passed away. He is deceased. So he's a late Dr. Reverend Milton Williams, 2021. And more stories started to come forward, like that even consolidated the fact. And then I started chatting with his associates, people who worked with him closely, and they said, yeah. I think you should document the story. I was planning to finish it and give him before his death. I said, check this, read this now, but that didn't work out. But I guess it was, everything has a purpose and a timing, because even after some of the stories that started to come forward, people that our family didn't know, how he reached out to them and how he ministered to them, and that kind of thing. So that was the inspiration really, because I personally wasn't going up thinking, okay, that man is a hero, or going to write about him. I just saw him as a regular dad, just regular father. I was on my own kind of hustle, trying to develop me, and I was very much into music and things. And I just never really lived home much in my adult life too. So just in and out, and you hear, well, he gone Africa, you hear moms, he gone, so I never really sat down and got his stories from his end. So everything in the book comes from the testimonials and recollections of other people, and I think that is powerful, because when you have several people giving the same story about the energy and the focus and the character of the same person, then it's like authentic, So yeah, that was the inspiration, boy. It started back then, and then it just continued until his death. And the book closes with some lessons learned. I documented 7 lessons I learned from him as a person, from analyzing his life, from through the testimonials and so on. That is the most inspirational part to me,
Okay, so he was aware before his death that you were going to write this book. He knew that you had started.
No, he knew that I was researching, on his 80th birthday, because I was gonna just hand it to him, like, check this out, check this out. Yeah, and so I didn't really tell him. I just, on his 80th birthday, we had a kind of celebration, and I just told them how I was taken back, because that was after I started researching. And then he says, well, it's good to know some people paying attention, that kind of thing. He didn't realize, it's like, because he was very, when he's speaking on the pulpit, when he's chatting, having a conference, someone, whatever, it's passionate. He's convincing and with conviction. Outside of that, very chill, very chill, and no blowing his own trumpet and that kind of thing. So very unassuming. So he never would say, well, I do this, I do this, I used to do this, So when I was really hearing the stories from other people, that really inspired me. And so he didn't really know that I was documenting it, and he wasn't a fussy person, so he wouldn't have said, "Hey, make sure you finish that book and make sure you write."
Okay.
Yeah.
And the format of the book, is it more of testimonials, as in compact testimonials, or is it more like an autobiography story from a timeline from his birth, in a sense, to his death? What's the format of this story?
Someone, and I like that. A friend of mine who is an author also, he described it as a cross between an autobiography and an inspirational read kind of thing, and a memoir kind of thing. So it's like a merging of the two. So you have the testimonials of persons from the Vincentian chapter, persons from the chapter in Carriacou, and persons from Grenada, and about 11 testimonials combined. And then you have the lessons at the end, but it's merged in this biographical kind of discussion, based on who's telling the story. Like, for example, one of the persons he worked with was a World War II vet in Carriacou. He was there before my dad transferred to that church, So like a history of, but the same vet is included, as he discussed my dad and that kind of thing, because I just thought his history was interesting inside it. So it's a merging of the biography and the inspirational kind of ideas, because inspiration, I guess, because you're discussing someone who was into Christianity and spirituality and that kind of thing. So that is it's essential and important part of life, Okay. So it's a cross. It's a cross.
Okay. All right.
What you have other siblings? What has their response been like? How have they received this work?
Well, there are two. I have two brothers before my dad got married. One is in Tromacastel, one is in Trinidad. I guess he was the most impressed with it. He said, "Man, this is like a movie." That's what he's thinking. And he had to access one through Amazon, really, because he's on the other side. So he really was taken back, because he probably knew, out of us, he knew my dad the longest. Because he used to boast, he used to push us in pram and that kind of thing, So he has recollections that I have no idea of, because I left St. Vincent as a baby. I was born here, but we left at baby to go to Carriacou. So he really liked it. Cain, who is still in Chomaka, just got his copy recently. So I'm still waiting for his feedback. And then the others, I guess they're still going through the motions. I have two who live in North America and then two in Grenada. So generally, they like the project, But Byron in particular was, I guess, the oldest and who really, I guess, knew him the longest. He was really excited about it,
All right. And you mentioned Amazon. So where can the book be found?
On Amazon for real, for sure. Amazon.com. Then in St. Vincent, Games Book Center has the books. And you should try and get them as soon as possible. And then the Kingston Evangelical Church office in the church itself, they also have the books. But I think the Kingston Evangelical is open like from Monday to Thursday. The office is open Monday to Thursday up until about 3:00. But Games goes right until Saturday. So, and then me, if you have my contacts, I'm afraid to give my contacts. I'll give you my contact.
Sure, sorry.
473, area code 473. 534-6060. Area code 473-534-6060. That's me, and that's on WhatsApp too. I'm here. Today's Friday. I'm here until at least Sunday. If you want to reach out, because I kind of reconnecting with my Vincentian roots too. So Providence people and Dyer people and Williams people and Haywoods too.
Williams is real enough in Vincent, right?
Real
enough.
Real enough. But if you're Williams, and especially from the Leeward end, you probably should give me a shout. You might be cousin this. I have a few bits, and a few aunts over here, some cousins, uncles.
Okay. All right. And persons, if they want to contact you via social media, would it be under your name as well?
Yeah, Matthias Williams. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. At least those two platforms. Okay. You'll see a guy with a saxophone because, like I tell you, I'm a musician. But you could find me definitely on the platforms. Matthias Williams. From Matthias Williams.
Okay. And what's the general cost? Do you have an idea of the general cost?
At the Kingston Evangelical, you can get some packages. The game says he'll push them out for about 35. So reasonable. Yeah, reasonable. And then I can tell you, if you touch base with Marcia, the Kingston Evangelical, and you're buying more than one, it's like what for 30 for one at Kingston Evangelical, 50 for two, 60 for three. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could get a book for $20 if you pull your strings right.
All right, just team up as well. Just team up. All right. All right. So, Mr. Williams, in wrapping up, remind us again, why should we get this book?
Because it's an inspirational read. I really want persons to read it, and I want the younger generation, because Milton Williams was from one generation. I'm in another generation. There's still another generation after me. and I would want to inspire the generation of his generation might be quicker to read it, but the generations after, I want to inspire them to encourage them to read it. I want to encourage them to read it because he was a quality person, and came from like really, really zero beginnings. He just barely finished primary school, but that enabled him to get into the Windward Islands Bible Institute. By the time he was done, he had a doctorate. And this simple guy understood certain things about life. He understood the importance of education. He understood the importance of people, that in this whole circle of life, that people were important. So he was always just serving and giving. Some pastor of Kingston Evangelical met him and worked with him in Grenada, was describing him as kind-hearted, So I'm certain that the stories, the testimonials, the description of his character would impact persons, because that's what it did for me. Like, I read it and I was inspired, and I don't think I'm easily inspired. I was inspired, and then my question was, Matthias, well, what is your excuse? What's your excuse for not fulfilling your potential and for not going to another level when you look and see what the simple man did? So. Please read is what I'm saying. Please take a read. It's easy reading. You can read it in 2 sittings, after work or before work. It's easy reading. So please read, and it's reasonable and accessible. If you're really interested in being the best version of yourself, take a read. And
I suppose the point as well too is everybody has their story to tell, and there's something that we can learn from everybody. It doesn't matter. There's standing in society, etc. There is a story that we can learn from everybody.
Yeah.
All right?
And also, there's some unassuming persons. Here's just one example: teachers, parents, coaches, somewhere out there that have some really important stories to tell if you just pay attention to life. They're the ones investing in children and youth. Those to me are the real heroes in our community.
All right. So we have Mr. Dexter Rose saying to tell you hello.
And Joshua he says all the best to Mr. William.
Joshua Richardson.
Yeah, Mr. Rose is a good partner, man, because as musician wise, actually I'm doing a gig tomorrow. And he's the one who said, if you come in here,
you might as well do other things, right? Right. All right. I agree with Mr. Rose. All right. So, Mr. Williams, we are happy to have conducted this interview with you. And it is good. We've always been encouraging persons to document stories here, and documenting your personal, from your vantage point and the vantage point of other persons who are in contact with your father, should make for very good reading for other persons, inspirational reading for many persons. All right. So this was our interview with Mr. Matthias Williams on the book entitled More Than Just a Dad. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available here locally at the Games Bookstore and the Evangelical Church office.
Kingston Evangelical.
Correct. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Matthias, for stopping in today. And continue to enjoy the most beautiful country in the entire world.
Absolutely.
In the entire world. All right. Take care until.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Here's your chance to win